It's a Wednesday, and before we begin with all of the things that I made this week, I wanted to show you, before I take care of this, the nightmare ends. This doesn't even do it justice. There are so many ends in here, and there's a front. I'm not going to show you that. You'll have to wait a few minutes. I'm going to go weave these ends in because I cannot even with this square anymore. And I'm back with a clean square. So let's just start right here with these squares. If you've been watching my What Did I Make Wednesdays, I have started making these kind of fancy granny squares from this book, A Year of Granny Squares. We've got all sorts of different squares in here. They give you the picture, the written pattern, and the chart. Fairly easy to follow, but not beginner. So if you know the basic stitches and you know how to read a pattern or even the graph, you should be okay. There have been probably a handful of times where I've had to stop and read the pattern, try to figure out from the graph what the written instructions are trying to tell me. That could just be a me issue. I don't know, but it slows me down a lot. And I have to say that these squares have taken me at least an hour, each one that I've made. If you haven't seen my other ones, here they are. I've done 3 other ones. There's one. This one was actually the first one that I did, and I really like this one. This is probably the quickest one. And then we've got this one here. I still haven't blocked it. I'm not much of a blocker. It is necessary in some instances, but when I finish something, I want it to be done. I don't want to have to worry about blocking. I'll do it if I have to, which I think I'm going to on some of these squares. So that was one. And then this week is this square, and you can see it's a puffy 3D flower. Look at all those layers, which is why I had so many ends to weave in. I think it came out very cute, but again, we're going to need some blocking. And I don't know, honestly, what do you think of a 3D or a puffy type granny square? I like the look of it, but I don't know if I like it. Does that make sense? I like how the flower turns out with all those layers of petals, but I'm not sure that I want a puffy, kind of awkward, for lack of a better term, granny square, especially in a blanket, because, you know, it kind of gets pulled up and stuff if you're trying to cuddle with it or something. So I've got these 2 kind of 3D puffy flower squares. I don't know. I don't know if I like the puffy. Let me know down below in the comments what you think about puffy or 3D granny squares. Do you like them? Do you hate them? Do you not care? Does it not bother you? I am on the fence. We'll see once I put this together into probably a blanket how I feel about the puffy squares. Maybe it will help if I just block the things, get them to press down a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. So that was the most recent thing that I did this week. I actually started and finished this last night. It took forever. I was actually planning on doing another one because the next one in the book is fairly simple. I think I can get that one done pretty quickly, but this just took forever. And as you notice, my squares are rather large. It's because I'm using a 6mm hook instead of the recommended 4mm. That's a me problem. I was so excited to start the book. I really did not read properly, but that's okay. I will just have a very extra large blanket. The first thing that I started way back in time a week ago was a granny stitch market bag. I could have finished it. Let me show you. It's really an easy pattern, and I will put it down below. I'm going to make it, I swear. You start with a round of, I think this is double crochets. Now I can't remember, half double crochets, but I'm going to say it's double crochets. So you just start working in the round for the very bottom of the bag, and then you start working your granny shell, and then it's just granny shell rounds all the way around for X amount of rows, and then you put the straps on. Because I thought I knew what I was doing in this project, clearly I didn't, I used a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook instead of the recommended 5 millimeter. I probably could have sized down even more. And when I redo this bag, I might use a 4.5. We'll see, because this 4-weight cotton yarn, look how big this bag is with a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. I mean, it's fine if you want a large market bag. I was going for something just a little bit smaller. I mean, I'm not even halfway done. I might have like 10 more rows I was supposed to do before I put the straps on, but I just feel like this is huge. Maybe that's how it's supposed to be, but I want mine a little smaller. So I'm going to frog this all out and start over. So hopefully I will have a finished granny stitch market bag to show you next week in a reasonable size. Over the weekend, I was busy filming some short, quick little tutorials. The first one I did were some cotton bookmarks, which are these, and they're a nice, fun, unique project. Just because the stitch pattern is different than what, I typically do for blankets and hats and squares and bags and things. So this is just 2 rounds, and you work 1 row, which is the very center, and then you start working around one side, adding these cluster stitches in your spaces from the first row. So you go all the way down one side, slip stitch on the bottom, and then you work down the other side doing the same pattern, and then you just slip stitch to join, and you've got a nice bookmark. You can add a chain, put a little dongle on it, a heart, a flower, a star, whatever little applique type image, quick and easy, or just you do a chain, maybe a leaf at the end, and you've got a nice bookmark. These need to be blocked a little bit, and I'll probably starch them just to kind of stiffen them up and stretch them out a little so you can really see that flower pattern. This is the Funky Floral Bookmarks. I have a tutorial that I just put up over the weekend, so I will link that in this video if you're interested. The yarn that I used for this was a Mary Maxim bamboo stripe cotton wool blend yarn, and I have not been able to find it again. It's a very pretty colorway. I think you're supposed to work it up into socks and it'll stripe up really nicely. It's a thinner weight, so very fine weight, size 1 yarn. I really like the yarn, but I can't find it. It's not on their website anymore, or I would link it here. I think I actually received this yarn in a mystery yarn box. So they were probably getting rid of it, getting rid of that brand, that style, that type of yarn, and so they just threw it into mystery yarn bags, which is why it's kind of fun to get the Mary Maxim mystery bags, because you do get some kind of fun different yarn. However, if you find something that you like and they are actually discontinuing it like this, and I've got some other ones that I can't find anymore, that's a little disappointing. So anyway, I made 2 bookmarks. Also, over the weekend, I did another little mini flower tutorial. I have made these into so many garlands. They're really quick, easy. It's something that you can almost batch make or make quickly if you've got spring markets, or you just want a little gift for somebody, or you can hang it up in your own home and kind of make your home feel a little springy. But it's this little 5-petal flower, and they're really small, so they're about 1.5 inches, 2 inches tall and long, and you just make the center. So you can make a bunch of the centers. It's 1 round, and then go back and add the petals. That's just one round. So it goes really quickly. And then you can just create a chain and join every so often at the top of one of the petals to attach to the garland chain, and you've got a mini floral garland. So I really like making these. I made one this weekend. I planned on making 7 more so I could finish another garland. Did not get that far. So I made one for the tutorial, and here it is. Super pretty though. You can always put these on hats and bags and clothing and whatever else. You might also be able to put these in like a little clip or on a clip. Maybe use some, you can probably sew it on, or even just some glue if you're not going to be super hard on it. These would be really cute for like spring hair clips. And then this weekend, I was so frustrated with that granny stitch market bag. Not frustrated with the pattern. The pattern is super easy. It's really easy to follow. I was happy with that. It was a me thing. I was so mad that it was turning out too big, so I had to put that aside. But I really wanted to work with cotton yarn. I wanted to do something in cotton. So I made some granny stitch bucket hats. I will link the tutorial for this down below. It is a pattern and tutorial by Knotting Hook Crochet. So here's the first one. Just a little nice bucket hat. They come out really cute. They're super easy. This probably takes maybe an hour max. You could probably do it faster if you're a super fast crocheter. And then I added just a nice little tag right there. And then I did one in this nice pink. This one is just slightly larger because I added one extra row around. I added a nice sort of pinkish tag down there. And if you're interested in getting your own tags, this is not sponsored. This is just people that I watch and that I get some things from for our Etsy shop. But I use off of Etsy this artist called Artifox Studios. They're out of Orlando, Florida, which happens to be where my son was born. So I'm supporting his birth city a little bit. I just recently got these colorful tags in, so I've got a whole bunch in here, and it comes with the little snaps that you can snap in right there. So if you're interested, I've been super happy. I've placed 2 orders with them in the last year for little tags like this, and everything has been fine. So recommend that, but again, not sponsored. I am not sponsored by anybody, so if I ever mention a product or anything like that, not sponsored, just somebody or something that I like or maybe dislike sometimes. So anyway, here is the pink bucket hat and the sort of seaside. We've got some teals and whites and blues in there. So I made 2 of those, I think, on Saturday. And one more project that I made. This is actually going to be part of my yarn review on the Kai yarn. So if you're not familiar with the Kai yarn, it is this. It's a Loops and Threads Kai yarn. I got this from Michael's a while ago, and I got 3 different colorways. This one is the citrus. Yeah, citrus. So it has greens and it did have some yellows, and I'll show you what I did this week with the rest of this yarn. I had 3 balls of this colorway, so I made a knit hat, and I wanted to see how the knit worked up compared to like a double crochet compared to a Tunisian crochet. So I also made a blanket, which is right behind me in that sort of pastel-y purple, pink, orangey color. So that one I really like because it looks like a sunset. I also did a granny, corner-to-corner granny stitch blanket in the 3rd colorway. I had so much of this citrus, Kai yarn citrus, left over that I made another blanket. It is just your standard corner-to-corner crochet. So I really like how this one came out too. And here's you can kind of see the colors a little bit better. I'm going to add just a simple scallop stitch border all around it. I do not have enough to do that with this yarn, so I'm just going to use probably a regular plain white yarn for that. This one was super fast, worked up really easy. I used a 6mm crochet hook just to build it very quickly because I wanted to use this yarn up, and I also want to show this stitch style on the yarn review. So if you're interested in the yarn, which again I cannot find, you'll kind of know how it works up in all of those different stitches. But yeah, I cannot find it. I think it's still on the Michaels website, but it's very limited stock, very limited color choices. I really liked it. Spoiler alert, I really liked it. I like how the colors worked up. I like the colors. It's a thin weight yarn, 3. It is a 3 weight, so it's fairly thin. It's thinner than a 4 weight, but it is, I'd say, like a 2 to a 3, depending. It is wound with a little bit of white running through the entire ball, so you've got the green or the color. So in this case it was yellow, white, and green. You've got that white strand running throughout, so it really ties your project together. But I can't find it. Otherwise, I'd buy more. And that wraps up What Did I Make Wednesday. It is March 25th. I think I did pretty good this week, considering a lot of sort of bigger projects, bigger, puffier square projects, half of a bag that is going to be frogged, so I don't know if it counts, but it is something I worked on, so there's that. Next week, I hope to have a finished bag. I am planning on starting another blanket, which I'm hoping will be a tutorial sooner rather than later. And yeah, maybe some new to me patterns, projects. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you next week. Happy crocheting, happy knitting, everyone. Bye.